For breaking news on the cyclone emergency in northern New South Wales and southern Queensland. Severe tropical cyclone Jonica is now battering the coast.
Have you ever wondered what you would do if a natural disaster was coming for you? Tonight, December 1st, Australia will be hit by a major cyclone.
Destructive winds to about 220 kilometres per hour.
And a catastrophic fire. How would you cope? Would you panic? We like to think we'd react well, but the truth is, most of us don't. Our brain partially shuts down and we can behave in really weird ways. As our world gets hotter, the likelihood of being hit by an extreme weather event seems to be going up. So, to help us all be better prepared, we've come up with a truly audacious plan. We've created 2 fully fledged natural disaster scenarios, and we're going to throw them at 2 unsuspecting families. We've told them to expect some sort of disaster.
A tsunami, maybe wild animals.
New Zealand invading Australia.
But not where nor when.
It's going to be hard to be surprised because you're expecting to be surprised. But anyway, we'll see tomorrow.
How will they react? What happens to the brain in a disaster?
Stop!
And what life-saving tips do you and your family need to know?
The rule is don't drive through floodwater.
If you're trapped in a fire, it's not safe to do nothing. You have to keep fighting the fire.
Don't panic, but Australia, get prepared for extreme weather. This is the suburb of Hornsby Heights, one of the many leafy addresses dotting Sydney's North Shore. And this is the Matthews family. Why'd you choose here?
We couldn't afford the beaches.
There's Riley, Liam, Marg and Rod, who you may have noticed takes his dad joker role very seriously. Well, I hope he keeps his sense of humour because we're about to spring them. Nick? Yep, we're good to go. We're on. We've assembled a crack team of disaster professionals and pyrotechnicians. And for the next hour, we're going to make this family's life hell. And I have one more little surprise. Okay. So, your friends on holiday? You guys are dog sitting. It's December 1st, early evening. My Invented Universe begins now.
Good evening. Leading our bulletin tonight, Sydney swelters. Record-breaking heat recorded, more than 46 degrees in some areas. Here's Graham Creed with the details.
The heat peaked between 4 and 5 this afternoon, with all suburbs recording record maximum temperatures. And strong northwesterly winds with very low humidity and the extreme temperatures are combining to trigger catastrophic fire conditions across Sydney.
Thanks, Graham. We have some breaking news just in, that a bushfire has just started near Glenorrey in Sydney's north. Glenorrey residents are advised to follow their bushfire plans and leave now if it's safe to do so. Further afield, residents in Arcadia, Galston and Hornsby Heights should be on the lookout for burning embers. We'll bring you more information as it comes to hand.
All right, going to fill bathtubs.
All right,
So now, we want to see how our family prepare themselves and their home for the coming fire and likely evacuation.
Where are we going, Dad? Where are we going?
Okay, can you help me come up on the roof? We're going to have to plug the downpipes with these.
And we're not just interested in what they do, but how their brains react.
It's complete chaos.
And our observers are the best. To help us create these scenarios, I've turned to the people we all turn to in an emergency. The Country Fire Services. The SCS, the Bureau of Meter Fire, 13 kilometres from our family's home in Hornsby Heights. And these are the detailed weather tracks developed by the Bureau of Meteorology for our nightmare of a fire day. In terms of those temperatures, I mean, it's a record-breaking day, but this is not unrealistic, is it? Because we had 45.8 degrees, only 0.5 degrees less, just last January.
So this is certainly not out of the question. This is a scenario that will happen at some stage.
These conditions are almost identical to Victoria's Black Saturday. So what are our family up to? Well, it does appear very roof-orientated. In fact, this is a common mistake we'll pick up on later.
It's too late to start cleaning our gutters. They should do those last-minute tidy-ups in and around the home, making sure the combustibles are away from the back door.
And for our own OH&S peace of mind, we'd like them off the roof now, please.
Okay, guys, back down off the roof, please.
They should be referring to their bushfire survival plan. They should be looking at the website for the latest information. But most importantly, in the event that this deteriorates even further, where are they going to go?
Right, well, things are about to escalate. Our fire is about to jump much closer to where they live.
We interrupt our regular schedule for an update on the bushfire emergency in Sydney's north. A dangerous new fire has broken out just north of Galston. Other residents in the immediate vicinity should follow their bushfire plans and leave now if it's safe to do so.
So we've now seen this fire spot some considerable distance in front from where it first initially started.
And this new Galston fire is now 4 kilometres from their home.
Let's hear now from a family who's just fled the fire in Galston.
I couldn't believe how fast it came up the gully. I just had to grab the kids and get out. I haven't seen any of my neighbours yet. I just hope they got out okay.
All right, let's go then. Let's go. All right, so bring the dogs. We've got everything in the car that we need.
Do we shut the blinds before we go?
We close the house up. Thank you.
Yep.
Good point. Good point, Liam. Marg, whoever you are, all the doors locked.
OK, there are real signs Rod's brain is starting to disorganise under pressure, which is what we're expecting to see.
You've got your mobile, Rod? Because mine's low battery.
Thank you for the reminder.
Now, to add to the confusion, we steal a pet. And as there's a boy attached, we steal the boy too.
Liam, Riley, Liam.
People stress a lot about their pets.
And I guess the pets can make people put themselves and their own lives and the lives of their family at risk.
Correct.
I was looking for the dogs, but I couldn't find them.
Oh, OK. All right, we've lost a dog. We've lost a dog. We've lost a dog.
Riley's got a dog.
Yep. Where's Riley? And we've lost a Riley. OK, one last run through the house. Earth to Riley. Earth to Riley.
Oh, I'm not leaving without Riley.
All right, we're starting to get some smoke here. No? OK.
Dad! Dad! We've got Riley!
Have you got him?
Yep.
OK, let's go.
Meanwhile, out there in the dark, the situation is rapidly escalating. 3 new fires have erupted in the gully not far from their house.
Stop! Stop! There's no way you can get out from here at the moment, OK? The road's blocked. An absolute nightmare, OK? You're going to have to go back in. But you can't go that way.
We've forced the worst-case scenario, because often in bad fires, exit roads become blocked. Time is now running out. Their world is changing.
I got the cool ones.
Dark glasses simulate pitch-black smoke. There's the roar of an approaching fire playing in their ears. It all adds to the brain strain.
What we don't realise is the way in which our whole sensory world is changed. Or when the fire is right around you, you can't see to the end of your arm. It's jet black.
Just then, Marg receives a text on her dying phone. She's the only one with a phone.
Emergency, bushfire, Hornsby Heights, seek shelter as the fire arrives. Check local radio.
We need a radio.
1-800.
Bloody hell, who has radio?
I need to recharge this.
Grab the recharge.
Where's your phone?
I don't know.
Little things like finding your phone or your keys become big problems as the adrenaline rises. Embers are starting to fall like rain on the roof and garden, some of them as big as my arm.
I want to have a look at the backyard.
Hello?
Let's go in the backyard.
Backyard. Mark?
Come in.
Okay.
Where are you, boys?
In the backyard.
Liam, off
Yes.
you go. Grab the hose from over there. Get the other one.
I'll calm the dog.
Now we'll see how they handle an ember attack.
It's basically small little bits of burning material landing around you. It'll be like it is raining fire.
For safety, we've briefed them to use imaginary water, but they've only got 1 bucket.
I'll do that in slow motion.
And how do I put an ember out? They keep burning. So you put a bucket of water on the first lot of embers, you walk away, it burns again.
90% of houses lost in fires are destroyed by embers, often streets back from the bush.
Riley, where's the dog, huh? They ran off. It ran off!
Yeah, another one.
Oh my God.
Meanwhile, the noise of the bushfire in their ears is taking its toll.
Liam, are you on the fire?
Huh?
Have you got it?
I can't hear you, Dad.
I can't hear me. It's all right, he can't hear me.
Liam, have you got the fire?
Sorry?
But worse is coming.
They don't know it yet, but there's a wall of flame racing up the slope toward them with flames leaping 100 foot into the air. Pretty soon, the trees 100 metres away are going to be alight. A superheated blast of wind will come shooting through, sucking the oxygen away. The fire front is coming.
Having a hard time breathing now. It's getting really hot.
There's more and more.
Get inside.
In we go. Side.
We need to get some cloths. I'll get some face cloths and wet them and we can breathe through them.
Yep.
Don't try to fill up the water.
Okay, you got the pretend to fill up that. Good. Face masks. Where are you, Mum?
Now we're rapidly preparing to escalate this fire to the next stage. As we bring them out, they will see that their kitchen is on fire. What should they be doing?
This is their refuge. They have to fight the fire. They will not be safe in their house if they don't put the fire out.
Fire alarm, guys.
All right. Okay, get down. Get down on the ground.
There's a fire in the kitchen. You're going to try to put it out?
Quick, let's go. Try and put it out. See if we can get it out. Wet blankets, quickly. Excuse me. Wet blankets.
It's getting bigger. The front of the kitchen is now on fire. Don't go any further in front of the kitchen.
Get the wet
Right,
blankets
that fire's getting too big. You're going to have to get out of the kitchen. Push back.
Okay. Back in here.
The whole front of the house is now on fire.
Let's go to the back of the bathroom. Okay.
Yeah, right. Use a wet face cloth. Just put it over your mouth to breathe. We're going to be right.
Oh, it sounds bloody horrific, doesn't it?
I can't hear anything anymore.
Yeah, I can barely hear anything either.
Remember, it's pitch black in here, and the roar of the fire front in their earphones is drowning out their words.
We're going to be right. We've done everything right. How long do you think it'll take for the fire to pass over?
Don't know.
It shouldn't take too long.
What if you did it again? What would you do differently? Anything?
Probably nothing.
Not lose the dogs.
Not lose the dogs.
Clean my house after Catalyst had been and not before.
Yeah.
12 minutes have gone by, and the fire front has passed. But in here, they're trapped. They can't actually check if it's safe to go outside. But it's time to bring my imaginary universe to an end.
Take your earphones out.
Take your earphones out, yep. Oh.
Okay. All right, guys, well done. That's the end of scenario.
And then, quietly, we show the scale of the fire that just hit them.
Okay, just have a look at this newsreel.
They're calling it Red Sunday, bushfire devastation on a scale never before seen in Sydney. An elderly man has been confirmed dead in Galston, and there are fears for around 30 other people still missing or damaged. Evacuation centres are full, and many people who fled the fire have no idea if they still have a home to go back to.
Oh my God, poor buggers.
Okay, guys, 3 come.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done. How are you feeling?
Pretty...
Brain a bit
Yeah.
fried?
Yeah, it was a lot of work, you know.
Just shattered, harrowed. I would hate to go through it in real life. I would hate to go through it. And it just made me realise all the mistakes that when it happens...
Mistakes. The mistakes we'd all typically make. That's what we're going to debrief on later in the program. Well, have you imagined yet how you'd have done? See, here's the big problem. Rural people think a lot about fire, but most of us live in the suburbs and we don't. We feel kind of safe, like someone will come to our rescue or we'll have plenty of time to leave. Yet we are talking about a catastrophic fire day. All our cities have whole suburbs that back onto or are right in the bush. So are fire conditions getting worse? Well, to answer that, I need a weather report. An extreme weather report. And who better to consult than my trusty friends at the Bureau of Meteorology?
Well, today's weather report is focusing on extreme weather.
That's something we've seen a lot of in the last 5 to 6 years.
That's right, and we're going to begin with trends in national fire weather.
And what we've got here is the Forest Fire Danger Index. So it includes temperature, relative humidity, wind speed, a crucial factor, and also a measure of drought, so how dry the fuel is out there.
It is quite a clear line going up, isn't it? I mean, fire weather is getting worse.
It is. These circles represent an increasing trend in Forest Fire Danger Index, and the larger the circle, the larger that trend. And you can see over most of the continent, but particularly that fire-prone southeast.
And this particular map isn't just looking at all fire weather. This is the top 10%, the worst fire days.
That's right. So we're looking at those really extreme fire days.
Records also show the fire season is starting earlier and finishing later. And this has a lot to do with rising temperatures. In the past century, Australia has got 0.9 of a degree hotter.
So what we can conclude from all these records is that not only is the fire season extending, but it includes more extreme fire days than it did in the past.
In fact, until recently, the fire danger rating only went up to extreme. But you will have noticed there's a new category around. And that's because of what happened on this day. February 7th, 2009, the day we all know now as Black Saturday. It started with a record-breaking heatwave, culminating in a 46.4 degree day and 70k winds, and ended in fire. A fire so devastating that the landscapes and the communities have not yet fully recovered. Well, this is Victoria in the heart of where the fires ripped through. And while we did try to introduce some stress as part of the family preparedness training, it's nothing compared to what happens to a brain when faced with the real thing.
It really wasn't going to happen to us. Our house wasn't going to burn down. And I really expected some help to come soon. A fire brigade, a policeman, somebody.
To begin with, the brain can go into a form of denial. It's like it just can't take the information in. It can't process the enormity of it. It's not real.
Well, it's funny. You know when you film, it's sort of like you're not there. Here it comes. Got bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm thinking, wow, look at this. There's no way I was going to run away and hide. I wanted to see it.
But there comes a point where reality shoots in and the brain flips to phase 2, adrenaline mode.
And then the reality hit when the storm front hit. That's when it all of a sudden thought, oh, wow, you know, I really made a bad mistake here. Shit.
Adrenaline surges through our bodies with the urge to act, but not always to act wisely.
I was up in the roof cleaning out the gutters and it sort of got all dark. There was the roar, but I thought it was just the roar of the wind. I didn't realise it was the roar of the fire.
I flew out the back door, hollering, Jim, we've got to go, we've got to go.
Why did I stay up there and finish? I mean, our plan was to leave. It wasn't to stay and defend the place.
This is the stuff we look back on and go, why did I do that? Often, too, the men send the family to safety and stay back to defend the home on their own. And at this point, the brain can become overwhelmed. That's what happened to Jason.
Then the fire pump stopped. It started to go very dark, and it was so dark. It was darker than night. And at the same time, I could hear windows exploding and the house was screaming. Like, from all the air rushing in, it was making like a screaming noise. And I ran into the fence. I couldn't think. Then I couldn't think when I was in the fence. I didn't know how to get out. It would have been simple, like if it happened right now. I think I just kept trying to go like an animal or something that was trapped, and the more I moved, it was tight. And so I sort of gave up.
And then, with brain and body in disintegration, Jason received a phone call.
How do you reckon you managed to answer the phone?
I think because it's a habit.
It's as if sometimes the brain needs kick-starting by someone else. Habit and clear instructions by phone allowed Jason to crawl to the dam.
And then I was there, I don't know how long, and I don't know if he was Then I remember the firefighters finding me. Then I remember his hand on my face.
So what's happening to the brain here? Is this panic? Well, panic is defined as total incapacitation. And research with extreme weather event survivors shows that panic is really rare. What actually happens is far more interesting. Professor Sandy McFarlane, who studies people with post-traumatic stress disorder, is an expert on the neurobiology of fear. And he's devised a little demonstration of how adrenaline progressively disorganises the brain.
Are you feeling that, Jonica?
5 minutes before exit, I'm given a language task. Conversations with Sandy had led me to believe I'd been naming animals, but that's not the task he gave me. Already, my access to language is suffering, but the adrenaline is still rising. We try again at 2 minutes to jump. The letters C and F. My professor has a sense of humour. This is the fear brain, sometimes known as the adrenaline brain. As you'd guess, the fear centres, like the amygdala, are highly active. But that causes other surprising parts of the brain to shut down.
Hi, Jonica, how was that?
So tell us, Jonica.
Yeah.
How'd you go?
Well, it only just hit me when I was just ready to head out that thing. I was just beforehand.
That thing? Do I mean door? First casualty of the adrenaline brain. Our language centres go offline. And of course, in a crisis, losing language is a problem because we not only communicate with it, we think and plan with it.
That actual moment when you're just out of the plane, yeah, it's just that tumble and I can just, yeah, the flash of the image of tumbling back.
Language gone, and look, it's the motor and visual parts of the brain that are dominating. Great for escaping a tiger, not great for a complex emergency. And then I discover something even more interesting has gone offline.
When you were being given the word generation task, initially you couldn't quite listen to the instructions.
No, I didn't. I didn't hear the instructions. You're right. I got it wrong. You're quite right. That's interesting.
And you'd prepared yourself for what you thought the task was going to
You're
be.
absolutely right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, caught out. Absolutely. And then she had to tell me, no, I did the task wrong, because I was remembering the task that I thought it was going to be. Yeah.
Second big casualty of the adrenaline brain. Our creative, big picture thinking shuts down. The executive centres, associative centres, those freewheeling networks that allow us to process information and come up with new ideas, literally stop talking to each other.
And that's what happens to the brain when it's overwhelmed by stress. That the focus and people develop tunnel vision, they shut everything else out, and they often ignore things that are critical to their survival or appropriate performance.
I knew there was a reason I jumped tandem. I would have forgotten to pull the cord for sure.
So, the more adrenalised our brain is, the less of it will be available to us. So how did our families' brains fare? Well, they've come down from the shock of us springing a fire on them, we've awarded some medals, and now we've organised a psychological debrief.
Can you describe what that was like, to suddenly be straight into action?
Shocking.
Really put you in the situation of what it would be like, because, you know, you wouldn't exactly know when a bushfire's coming.
I think the brain goes into overdrive and as a result you don't really seem to finish any thought.
So Rod's discovered firsthand what we've just demonstrated. Parts of his adrenaline brain stopped talking to each other.
I guess this is really a very important point, because if you haven't got everything already inbuilt and practiced to actually just activate, then you're having a lot of trouble innovating, aren't you?
Next point. Why did Rod head straight for the roof?
I think I see about how to deal with fires on the television, and you remember bits of it. And one of the things that you remember is hop on the roof and plug the gutters and put out spot fires from the roof and that sort of thing. So,
did you know that more people were injured falling off their roof in the Canberra fires than were burnt?
Authorities actually recommend against getting on the roof. Use a ladder to clear gutters and plug down pipes. But under stress, our brain reverts to what it's seen, even if it's wrong. Overall, though, for a family without a plan, Rob thought they did exceptionally well.
So, congratulations.
Thank you, everybody.
Congratulations.
So that was the psychological debrief. Later on in the program, we'll have the practical debrief, complete with what to do if the worst case happens and you're stuck as the fire front engulfs your house. Because in the future, more of us may need an emergency plan than we'd like to think. So what will happen to extreme fire days? Well, one of the most significant drivers of fire weather is temperature. And what you need to understand about temperature is that even a small shift in the average can produce a great shift in the extremes. So, Carl, I recognise this. This is a classic bell curve.
It is. This is an idealised distribution of what daily temperature is in Perth, actually, in February.
Yeah.
And what you can see is the mean is about 32 degrees.
Yeah. So at the moment, it looks roughly like about a third of the days in February are going to be over 35 degrees.
That's correct.
So, what happens if we go up 1 degree?
Yeah, 1 degree of warming in the future is now looking very likely, at least.
At the very least. And now we're starting to see much more of that curve fits into the hot days over 35 degrees.
Yeah, so when you get out to these extremes of the distribution, you can easily get a doubling or a tripling of those really extreme heat days just from a 1 degree shift in the average temperature.
So days over 40 could be doubled or tripled.
That's right.
So this is the simple principle that explains why even if the average temperature in Australia just goes up a little bit, you get more days right at that extreme end. Well, that's fire weather. Let's now switch to that other extreme Australia is famous for, cyclones and storms. So we're off to Tweed Heads, home of sand, surf, and here in the glorious Canal Estates, unsuspecting family number 2. It's the McLeod Strickland family, with Dale and her 2 kids, Elliot and Bridget, and Paul, whose daughters Nika and Ebony will appear later. But right now, surprise! Well, I've just been informed there's a cyclone on its way.
So there's a cyclone coming now. I'm not ready for a cyclone today.
Sneaky.
You are sneaky.
Yeah.
True.
It's 9 o'clock in the morning, Saturday, November 30. We're on.
Leading our bulletin tonight, Cyclone Jonica bearing down on the east coast. The Category 3 cyclone is expected to make landfall near the Gold Coast on Sunday morning. Graham Creed joins me now with the latest.
The conditions are only slowly deteriorating, but they are doing just that.
So, John, you've created quite the cyclone for us.
Yep, it's coming in from the Coral Sea and expected to cross just north of Coolangatta in around about 24 hours. It's packing 220 km/h winds, and because of that, we've issued a cyclone warning.
And this is the evacuation warning issued by the SES.
The SES is advising people living in the predicted path of the cyclone to prepare their house and yard for extremely destructive winds. There's also the potential for flooding in low-lying areas, and the SES advises residents in those areas to prepare for possible evacuation.
Oh no.
Oh no.
To get water.
Get water?
Yep.
Fill up the bar?
Get all the porridge out of the cupboard.
Chocolate.
Yep.
Well, it just shows you don't know how you'll react. The teenagers are getting focused, while Dale's brain seems to have gone into giggly denial.
We're filling up the bath with water, so then...
Yeah, and all the basins, because there might not be water for days and days.
And interestingly, none of their brains seem to have absorbed a key bit of information in the news. possible evacuation.
And this is the exact title, it is evacuation warning, which means not to just take that on board and then wait to see what happens. People can and should start to prepare for an evacuation.
Their plan at this stage, though, obviously, is to hunker down.
You go get the pool toys.
I'll go get the pool toys. We'll go outside.
We'll go outside, get pool toys and gather them.
And the puppies?
They tidy some outside items, think more about food.
There's not a lot of food.
You guys are very good at this.
And continue to watch the kids come up with most of the ideas.
Mum, should we get everything inside?
Well,
Yeah.
tape and like tape windows or something.
Windows, that's not a bad
Do we
idea.
have duct tape?
So let's ramp this up. Cue the wind and rain.
All right, well, I think we're done. We're ready.
Really?
They have to realise that everything that is not nailed down will become a missile. Everything's going to move horizontally at a couple of 100 kilometres per hour.
70% of the damage to people's property could have been stopped by removing these loose items or tying them down beforehand.
That's an amazing figure.
Things have moved on. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The cyclone is starting to turn nasty.
The Weather Bureau has issued a major flood warning for the Tweed River. Cyclone Jonica, meanwhile, is now not expected to cross the coast until tomorrow afternoon. Graham, if it's slowing down, that means we'll be seeing much heavier rainfall.
Yeah, that's right, Juanita. Both Yukai and Murwillumbah have recorded over 40 millimetres since 9 a.m, 200 millimetres at Jurumba.
Earlier today, the SES issued an evacuation order for residents in low-lying areas subject to flooding.
It's important to evacuate now because if you leave it too late, roads could become congested or cut off by floodwater.
Well, should we go to that PC waxing?
We should go to
this local evacuation centre.
Cue a little distraction.
You don't know me on your name just up on Norman Street? What are you guys up to? You staying here?
No, we want to evacuate.
No. We're having a little party. Cyclone street party.
It happens all the time in floods. People come and give you good, solid advice from what they know that the floodwater's never reached this place.
Enjoy.
Okay.
We are not going to that party. We've turned off the gas and the electricity. We've got the blankets ready to go, so we're ready to evacuate.
Okay, so they're leaving now, but we have a little test. Local flooding on one of the roads. Will they drive through it?
Unfortunately, we see this time and time again that people are familiar with the road and they'll think there's a small piece of water over it that can't impact their car.
There's water of 600 metres down here. Okay. Should be right.
Cars can float really quickly. Debris can come down river really quickly.
People get trapped and actually we've seen lives lost.
We are going to do it.
Back hill up on the hill if we can get through the water.
You
can have sense go through the water?
No, don't say no.
There's too much water, no, I think we'll stay. No, we'll stay.
They're stuck. And now we time jump again. It's the next morning, Sunday, December 1st. Bad news, the cyclone has slowed down further and it's growing in intensity.
We interrupt our regular schedule for breaking news on a cyclone emergency in northern New South Wales and southern Queensland. Severe tropical cyclone Jonica is now battering the coast with destructive winds, huge seas and extensive flooding. Authorities are telling us their main fear is that the peak storm surge is now expected to coincide with high tide. That could mean catastrophic flooding.
So this really is the perfect storm.
That's right, Jonica. It's a perfect storm because it's a bad combination of factors working together to create a big impact.
It's now too dangerous to attempt to leave. My only advice to you would be to find the strongest part of your house, to make your family safe in that section of the house and pray that this event will pass quickly.
Another surprise now, this time a nice one. We briefed Paul's 2 daughters from his previous marriage to be part of the scenario. And though they probably shouldn't have, they've battled down the street through 120k wind gusts to be with Dad. And now we time jump again. It's Sunday evening, December 1st. Cyclone Jonica has arrived. It's getting dark. Dark glasses make it darker. And from now on, they'll have the raging winds of a recording of Cyclone Tracy in their ears.
Cyclone
noise in their ears is like nothing they've ever heard. It's a jet engine-fueled roar. But things are about to get much worse. That storm surge is coming in.
I don't know what to do.
I'm not sure where else to go. We can't really get much higher. And it's too windy to go up on the roof.
I'm gonna drown.
Water is coming up through the plumbing. It's coming around the window edges. It's coming under door frames.
I'm scared the water will rise so much that it'll like fill the whole way up.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is an elevated sea level here. So it's not a wave. The sea went up in 3 metres in height.
The water is now a metre high inside their home.
Stay here, stay away from the windows, and then stay high. Okay. Well, we'll stay for now.
Sounds like it's getting heavier.
Jeez.
Oh, it's coming from all directions, isn't it?
I can't believe the windows are breaking.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad we taped up in here. Who taped up in here? Me and Ellie Nicole. Good on you. Well done. I don't know what I was doing.
You could be trapped like this for days.
Oh, no, don't say that.
You could be here for ages.
But we take pity on them and bring our scenario to an end.
Is it over?
Oh.
Is it over?
Let's try. That was scary. Yeah. That was full on.
It's been 24 hours now.
Yep.
The water's starting to subside, but in all that time, no one came to rescue. No one could. All you could do is stand here in the wet and try to keep it as sane as possible.
And we show them what they've been through.
Both the Queensland and New South Wales governments have declared the affected areas disaster zones. The worst affected area is Tweed Heads. Much of it is underwater. Adrian Rochella reports from the disaster zone.
Cyclone Jonica has cut a path of destruction through southern Queensland and northern New South Wales. The swollen Tweed River was met by a giant storm surge, and much of the Tweed area is now underwater. No estimates yet as to the loss of life or the financial cost of what some are describing as a perfect storm.
Okay.
Wow. All right. Have one go.
All right.
Meanwhile, we've been rapidly redecorating storm surge style.
Oh, yuck. It stinks. Oh, my gosh. No.
Right, guys. Sorry about the smell, but your house has been drowned in raw sewage and rubbish up to a metre for the last night. What are you thinking right now?
I was thinking that if this was a real situation, that we probably handled it pretty badly. Yeah. And not having any idea or strategy in mind what to do. That's
No
what
strategy?
was getting. Not really, no.
And of course, like the fire family before them, they've nailed the point right there. Well, how do you think you'd have done in this scenario? We set it in a part of the world that doesn't often experience cyclones, but in fact, this is only slightly worse than one that hit the Gold Coast in the 50s, with flooding that left many dead. And there's a lot more people living there now. So, are cyclones getting worse? Well, there's not enough data to answer that yet, but we can look at trends in cyclone and storm-related events, specifically rainfall. So this is a trend line going back to the 1950s.
Similar to those extreme fire days, we're looking at that top 10% of rainfall, so extreme rainfall days.
And there's, again, the trend just goes upward.
Yeah, and particularly in that last decade and a half. And this isn't unique to Australia, we're seeing that around the world. As you warm the planet, the atmosphere can hold more moisture and it can rain more. So when it does rain, it's raining heavier.
The wettest two-year period on record in Australia was really recent. The summers of 2010-11 and 2011-12. Rainfall records were smashed across the country. And in that time frame, we also had Cyclone Yasi. It began with a run of high temperatures in the Coral Sea and developed into one of the biggest low-pressure systems in living memory. A 900-kilometre wide stretch of boiling, seething weather rage, headed straight for two idyllic North Queensland holiday towns. This is Cardwell in northern Queensland, and this is right where Cyclone Yasi crossed the shore. A number of the images we used in a scenario came from here. This is the boat harbour. This is where they're rebuilding the shoreline. And these are some of the people who lived through it. So you're feeling pretty well prepared?
I was, yes, I was feeling prepared.
And then Wednesday morning, I looked at his face and I thought, oh. I said, what's wrong? And he said, I think this is going to be really bad.
The town had been evacuated. No one had been out here to tell me in this area. And we're only 3 k's from the town centre. I got a phone call from some friends of mine that lived in town and asked if they could come out here and stay.
Like in the Black Saturday situation, our brains often begin with forms of denial.
It was a very party atmosphere. Everyone's here, we're all cheering and drinking. Then all of a sudden the wind came and blew everything off the table and lifted the table probably about 8 inches off the ground and dropped it again. That's when we knew this is for real. From then it was just horrendous.
We had a sheltered area in the bathroom area where we called it our...
We did call it the panic room, yeah.
The sound is the most terrifying thing. The sound, you just want to cover your ears up.
And those unimaginable winds were driving a storm surge expected to reach 8 metres. Only now was it sinking in what that would mean.
I suppose you think about your family and you do wonder whether you are going to make it or not.
Fortunately, the storm surge missed high tide and reached only 5 metres. Enough still to put a metre of water through the beachfront houses, including Mark and Kathy's.
We all walked into town the next day. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
A big problem was in like the coconuts, like coconut trees. There's houses just to our left that looked like someone shot like in the old movies where they used to shoot the cannonballs, and there was just holes through the houses.
The main street was gone. There was nothing. The road was had been ripped away.
And then we made our way up. Can I hold it? Yeah, so every time we talk about it, I still get emotional about it because everything was just devastating.
While storm disasters give a lot more warning than a fire, still our optimistic brains often get stuck in denial and fail to imagine what's ahead. So how did our cyclone scenario family fare? After all, they were taken totally by surprise.
Would you have expected yourselves to react the way you did?
No, I found the whole thing, I felt like I was going in slow motion.
Yes. When we go into adrenaline mode, our brain speeds up. Therefore, our sense of time slows down. But it sounds like in your case, your brain speeded up, but it didn't have anything to get hold of.
Yeah.
And so the wheels were spinning.
Yeah.
I was really frightening, all the banging and stuff. We knew it was men out there, but it was just the thought of it being real and being those winds.
Actually, you did a lot of calming of each other down, which was a really nice thing to see. This is a very important thing because if the leaders keep projecting confidence, even if they don't believe it, it still has a settling effect which helps people to make the best of their chance.
But once again, that key message. Without a pre-prepared plan, the brain struggles to latch on to the best action.
I reckon anyone would be at least as confused.
As bad as we were?
Yeah, or as confused. And many people would have been far worse.
It's not surprising they were thrown, because it's a long time since a serious cyclone hit the Gold Coast. But will future warming make it more possible? Well, as it happens, the biggest driver of cyclones is ocean temperature.
So we have here a real temperature distribution for a point just off the coast of Queensland.
That's right. The orange line we have in here is the minimum temperature or sea surface temperature we need for a tropical cyclone to form, and that's about 26.5 degrees.
Even today, we've got much of the summer could produce a cyclone. Now, if we add 0.15 of a degree Celsius, we would expect to see in about 10 years' time, we can already see more of the summer days being in this cyclone possible area.
That's right. And what we also have is more extreme ocean temperatures. So if you can think of these as the fuel that sort of drives a tropical cyclone, the warmer the ocean temperatures, the more potential for that storm to spin up into a very serious category tropical cyclone.
And that's why, as sea temperatures rise, basic principles tell us that cyclones and storms can get more intense. But don't panic, Australia. Let's get prepared.
So now we come to the practical part of the program. What life-saving tips do you and your family need to know?
Do you want to know about what was good, what was bad?
Yes, please.
Yep.
Gentle.
Okay.
But Ian Mannix, head of ABC's emergency broadcasting, goes straight for the jugular.
What's in your bushfire plan?
It would be to clear the roof prior to summer of all the debris.
So your plan wasn't, this is how we are going to leave, that's why we've got an evacuation kit.
That would be part of the plan.
Is the plan written down, and have you shared it with the rest of the family? Have you practiced it?
The plan is definitely not written down.
Can I ask you, would you call that a plan?
No. Not a complete plan, Jonica. No.
We have an idea.
Most of us say we'll leave early, but we haven't ever planned what our trigger to leave will be, or what to do if we can't get out. And when the Matthews exit was blocked, they made one potentially fatal mistake. They kept wanting to shelter in the bathroom.
I thought I'd heard that the bathroom is the safest room in the house.
Yeah, and it is something that we hear a lot because it is something that is broadcast during cyclones. What we actually ask people to do during bushfires is continue to monitor around the house.
Okay.
If you're trapped in a fire, it's not safe to do nothing. You have to keep fighting the fire.
But what should you do if the worst case happens?
You're in a house, it's surrounded by the fire front and half your house is on fire. Well, what you don't do is trap yourself in a room with no other exits. They cannot get out this window.
So, a better option than the bathroom?
The fire front is coming. I might take shelter in this room. It has an exit to the outside. Now there's an inferno out there and there's no way I can go there. But if I wait, maybe 10 to 15 minutes, the fire front will usually have passed. Keep checking. When I can breathe and get out I go. The house now might burn down, but out here, this is where my best chance of survival is.
So how about the cyclone family? Well, once again, Ian Mannix goes for the jugular.
Looking around, you had some problems that you didn't quite consider. These boats behind us, the little canoes, they're missiles. Everything outside that might get picked up in a 200-kilometre-an-hour wind, it's got to go.
Well, their yard tidying was a little underwhelming. However, their bathroom tendencies were a good thing.
Unlike the situation in a fire, this, in most households, is the strongest, safest part of the house to be in a serious cyclone.
But their biggest mistake, a common one, was leaving it too late to evacuate and having to rush at the last minute. Here, though, they did good. They did not drive through our flooding road.
Unfortunately, one of the main ways people lose their life is entering water on purpose, either driving through the water or taking their boogie board out and playing in the water.
Most of us completely underestimate the power and speed of water. So to demonstrate, I'm deliberately entering a simulated flood. Actually, it does look like fun. But even I've completely underestimated how much I'm going to be held under. I can't get enough air. And I've got flotation and no flood debris banging into me. This is a major reality check. After this, I can understand how kids are swept into a storm drain. But of course, the biggest message, and what this whole special is about, is why you need a proper plan.
So how do you as a family prepare a plan? Well, luckily, someone has done half the work for you.
This is the Rural Fire Service Plan, which you can easily download and follow.
There are only 2 pages you need to complete. There's a leave early plan and also a stay and defend plan.
And this is a preparedness plan for floods, storms and tsunami. Okay.
And there are loads of good all-purpose emergency and evacuation plans online as well.
It actually goes through putting a kit together. Now, this is generic.
Okay, so now you spent 45 minutes and you made your plan. That's not enough. Now you have to practice it. Right. They call it the paper plan syndrome.
A plan sitting on a fridge that you once in a blue moon use because the fire's coming over the hill is not much of a plan. Because at the time a disaster is enveloping you, you can't think strategically. The body shuts down, and so you won't remember the 9 dot points on your plan, even if it's written there, unless you've practiced it.
Really, if you're serious about a family plan, develop a habit of running through it every year as soon as the weather starts to get warm, especially if you live in a fire-prone area. And yes, that includes the suburbs. In fact, why not make it an annual event? Get together with your neighbours, run through your plans, and have a barbie after. Make it fun. It's all very well thinking it'll never happen. Is it worth taking that risk? In the safe, tidy world most of us grew up in, our brains struggle to cope with the idea something big and bad can happen. But history and trends tell us extreme weather will strike somewhere. So every now and again, we need to poke our heads up, take a reality check, and be prepared. And if you'd like to use our scenarios to make your family plan, visit our website. We've laid out all the fake news reports, all the fake weather reports for each stage of the scenario. Sit down with your family, press play, and ask yourselves, what would you do?